homeschooling. I've had quite a few people ask me about why we homeschool, and to share any tips as well on how they can get started. So I thought I'd just do a vlog today on the reasons why we do homeschool. So we started homeschooling quite recently, which was just before Christmas now. We have sort of been doing it on and off since the pandemic. It was something I wanted to do before, but I didn't really think I'd be able to do it or have the confidence, and I kind of just felt as well that that was the thing you did. You follow the rest of society, you put your kids in school. But when the first lockdown hit, the kids, when I started doing work with them, I realised how far behind they were. Like Dylan, our 8-year-old, he was like 2 years behind in his reading. He was really, really bad. So yeah, it was a real concern. So we went on and off doing our own homeschooling during lockdown, and then we made the decision to put them back into school with everybody else. I think that was around Easter time. And then they had assessments then at the end of the year in July, and they'd actually gone up by 18 months for their reading, maths and their spelling. So it was amazing. They then went back into school in September, and already we could see the anxiety and the confidence being knocked out of them. And I think the teachers, they try and do an amazing job, but I think they just got so many children. Like, they had classes of 35, and there's no way they could just make sure that everybody in the classroom was keeping up. And I know for Dylan especially, I think he was just like sitting in the back of the room, just nodding away, saying he understands when he didn't have a clue. I know, because he does the exact same thing with me now, where we're doing one-to-one, and he just nods and he's trying to get me just to tell him all the answers. So I'm trying to be a bit careful where I want him to try and think for himself what the answers might be, instead of me just telling them to him, because I'm guessing that's sort of what happened in school, and he doesn't have a clue what's going on. So that was sort of the main reason, really, is they were going really far behind. Their confidence wasn't doing very well. They were getting anxiety in school because they weren't keeping up with everyone else. They were getting shouted at by the teachers, and they weren't happy at all. So just before Christmas, we both decided that it would be the best thing to do for our children was to homeschool them, and I was quite happy to do it as well. I know Reese is working full time, but so it is sort of on me. But I was more than happy to do that, and I quite enjoy doing it. I think I am homeschool mama inside. So so we've been having lots of fun doing it. It was a bit of an anxiety to begin with, especially when you had to send that email and deregister them. It was really nerve-wracking, and I kept going back and forth, am I doing the right thing? I found a really good book. Right, sorry about that. So I've got Alfred behind me now. He is watching a video on the alphabet while he's eating his cereal. He's already had a pear today, so yeah, grown boy and all that. So where was I? So those are the main reasons. And I was anxious to begin with. I did read a book called Wild and Free, which was recommended by a friend, and that was really good. So if there's any of you out there who are thinking about homeschooling and you are really nervous, and it is a big decision for you and your family, so and it is normal to be nervous and have anxiety and doubts and things like that. All those are normal feelings. So if you are a bit worried, I would suggest picking up that book, Wild and Free. You can buy it on Amazon. I think I just downloaded the Kindle version onto my phone, and I just read it, a few chapters a night. So that is really good. So if you're thinking about homeschooling, I think the lady's a Canadian lady, so she's also got an Instagram page as well. But yeah, that was really helpful. So now I have a baby with me. But we'll carry on, we are getting there. Yes we are. What are you doing, you silly Billy? So another reason I wanted to, so I put the baby in there, she's in the playroom now playing. That wasn't working. So yeah, so the second reason we decided to homeschool was mainly the flexibility of it. And the kids could pick what topics they wanted to learn. So, for example, Dill's really good with his hands and he learns really visually rather than on paper. And it was really cool. Reese got all different wood and things and he built a bridge with him and he really enjoyed it and he wanted to know about bridges. So it was something that really interested in him, so he wanted to learn about it. Whereas I find in school you've got to learn what they want you to learn, and sometimes they might not be interested in it. So obviously they do their reading and their maths every day, but then with the other topics, their history, their science and their geography, they've just picked what they wanted to learn. And sometimes we do workbooks. We've got this CYP, I think it is, books, or CGP, something like that. They're really good, but sometimes they don't really want to do the workbook, so sometimes we won't. We'll learn through doing projects, and that's. So since they've been doing that, they've really been enjoying it. And some weeks we do more book work, and other weeks we don't. And sometimes they're getting really frustrated with maths, and they don't really know. Yeah, sometimes they're feeling frustrated with a question, and instead of just pushing them, I just say, right, let's put all the book work down and we'll just go out for a walk. And that really helps clear their mind. And even when we're out walking, then they'll start asking questions, and we're sort of still learning. Anything we don't know, we can Google on our phone. And yeah, and they're just learning about nature and things, or anything really they'll ask questions about, and they'll just feel so much better. And then when we're back, they're always keen to try again then, rather than in a classroom they would just be forced to sort of do it or get really upset over it. And I think that's probably what would be causing the anxieties in them. And Caden, our eldest, he hasn't been sleeping very well for a long time, and this half term just gone, he said that he's been sleeping really well. So that's like the first time in probably like a year or two now that he started sleeping well all of a sudden. So that's really good, and I'm sure it's because those anxieties have been lifted. So, and I'm not saying that school can't work for the children. I think school for some children is really good, and they do really well. But for our family, we found that homeschooling is the best approach. So how do we homeschool? I've had quite a few questions from people on Instagram asking me like how we homeschool and where would they even begin. Well, again, I had some of the same doubts as everybody else did, and I wouldn't gone back before lockdown. I wouldn't have had a clue how I would have started to homeschool. But it really isn't as hard as you think. I found a really good app called Reading Eggs, and I'll put a link in the description as well to it, so if anyone wants to have a look at it. I believe you can get it, I think it came from Australia, and I think you can get it in America and in the UK, and that is really good. They do like a placement test on there to see what level they're at, and then you go from there, and some lessons are easier than others, and they go through it, and if they're stuck or they need help, that's what they'll do. So we start the morning with our Reading Eggs, and that's the boys are in the living room doing that now. Summer's just having cereal, so she'll have a start on that, and then if she needs any help, then I can help her with it. They also start from 2. I have tried Alfie on them because he's 3, but he doesn't, his attention span at this age. I think it's probably to start it. I think it's probably to start at more 4. So with him, I've bought flashcards, and every now and again I'll just sit with him and we'll just go through the alphabet. On his tablet now, there's all like alphabet songs and different videos and things, so I just sort of put that on them, just so those sounds are just like slowly sinking into his mind, and he just sort of recognises them, so that when he is a little bit older and ready to learn those sounds and take them in, then he'll just have a little bit of an understanding or sort of recognise them beforehand. So after they do their reading eggs, they go on to maths. There is a math seed section on the reading eggs, so Summer normally does that, and it's really interactive and really good for that age, so she really enjoys it. She struggles more with maths than the reading eggs, and she's particularly more behind with maths. She sort of had to start at the beginning, even though she's 6.5. I just started her from the start because she didn't seem to have had any knowledge of maths, numbers whatsoever when we first started homeschooling. So she started on that. The boys they've got work booklets for maths, so we just go through that, and that sort of does follow the curriculum of school. And if Dylan is stuck on a particular section, so yeah, if the boys are struggling with a particular topic, for example, Caden's really good at doing all the long multiplication, but then when it gets to like algebra and different sections, he really struggles to get his head round, or changing like improper fractions, things like that. So yeah, there's a really good website called Twinkle, and I think it's about £5 a month to sign up to. And yeah, that is really, really handy, and I can just go on there and look for his year group and get extra material and things from there to just print out. And instead of going straight on to the next one, we'll spend a few days going over the same topic just until he gets his head around it and he sort of has got a good understanding of it. And then other days he does a page and it's like changing into percentages of things, and he's really good at that. So we don't need to print any other worksheets off. He knows it, he understands it. He does the practice work questions on his in his work booklet and goes on to the next page then for the next day. And I think at the end of every section they have practice questions as well. So that's really good as well. So it's just handy just to recap everything he's done on that section, and just to go over what he has done, and just to make sure that it does sink in. But again, we're not going to do any tests and things like that, so it's not really a big deal or pressure and things like that. And again, if he's struggling with the questions, I just make him do a few questions, and then the next day he'll do more questions. So it's not really anything that we set in stone. We just sort of go at the pace that they want to go at, and you can feel if they're getting a bit tired or frustrated and things like that, and they're just at that stage, they're just nothing's gonna sink in with them. So that's when I sort of say, oh, I'll call it a day. And then we go on to like either history, geography or maths. We don't sort of do that every day. We just sort of pick a topic once a week and we'll do that. Depending on the day, sometimes we go out. We have been doing forest school. We meet up with a local group once a week. It was on a Wednesday, we now meet up with them on Thursday. So we go out, we do crafts and things like that with them. We'll also do craft stuff in the house, like topic work, like we did things for like Valentine's Day and Chinese New Year, probably do stuff for Easter, and like I'll get the paints and things out as well in a bit, and they can do some painting. So it's really good. The main issue I would say probably is if you have got a large family, you can hear Willow now crying in the background, is younger kids, and trying to keep them entertained while you're trying to homeschool the other ones. That can be a bit of a challenge as well. So if you've got a large family like us and you're really worried about how you're going to manage with the younger ones while you teach the older ones, the way we do it is, well, I guess we just sort of wing it really. I normally sit in there with them, and the Willow will normally sort of play with some toys. I might have to go in and out and sort of give some breakfast, and they'll call me in, so I'll have to go and help them with a question, things like that. So I sort of manage with that. When I'm doing the maths, if I'm doing the maths with Caden, normally like Dylan and things will just sit with her and just play with her toys, and vice versa. Caden will go and sit with her while I do with Dylan. Summer, again, she just does her maths on her reading eggs as well. So I sort of just float about with her, and I might have to stop with one of the boys to help her, things like that. Sometimes they can just get on with it and I'm just there pottering about. So we sort of just make it work that way really. And it doesn't really matter about timescales and things like that. We sort of do probably like around 3 hours a day of actual sitting down and doing book work with them all. So sometimes I might, go over, especially if Willow's on a bit of a fussy day, things like that. But generally that works pretty well. The main issue I would say is Alfie, because he's a 3-year-old boy with lots and lots of energy. So because of the weather and where we live, it's not really great for him to go out in the garden and play around in. So he can get quite loud and noisy. So at the moment he's quite happy, he's just watching some like alphabet videos and things like that. But I will normally print things out so he can practice writing his name. He will do some colouring, or he will, I get the painting out if he really doesn't want to do any of those things. But I try to just stick with the colouring, or he'll watch some alphabet sort of type videos for a minute, but when we get onto the maths, that's it then. He will want to sort of run around for a bit. So we will have breaks and things in between, just to let him run around and play a bit. In between when summer finishes, her maths, they will normally play really well together, and then they will normally sit in the playroom, take all the toys out, they'll build a den, they'll have the blankets and the cushions out and things like that, and I just let them carry on, and normally Willow will sort of join in with that. So yeah, you've just got to make it work really for your family, and just try and remember not to put too much pressure on you or the kids. And if you are having a bad day and things aren't going very well, then yeah, it doesn't really matter. You just let it go really. But yeah, if you've got any questions, feel free to write a comment in the box and I will reply and get back to you. But yeah, that is really sums up why we homeschool and sort of our daily routine of homeschooling as well. So yeah, best of luck to anybody who's thinking about homeschooling. So another thing that I do with them is one-to-one reading. I know a lot of people will do this in the daytime, but I tend to do this in the evening. So I switch everything off about 6:30, all screens go off, and that's when we sit down and we do, I call them in one by one, and we do one-to-one reading before bed. The boys will also do their own self-reading, is it?
Yeah, self-reading.
Yeah, so they'll do their own self-reading, but we'll also do a reading book together as well, just to practice on their reading. And yeah, we tend to do this before bed, and I just think it's a good time to do it. Everyone's settled. I can do one-to-one time with them, so I can spend a good like 10-15 minutes each reading through a book with them. And we also practice spelling and things like that as well. But like I said with Dylan, he likes to do things visual, so sometimes we will just we'll have like 10 spellings on a piece of paper, and we'll just call them out, and then he'll just write them down and practice them. So again, I just wanted to finish up the video because I did add that little part in at the end. But yeah, that sums up to everybody why we homeschool and the methods that we use when we're homeschooling. It may change in the future as we go along, because obviously we've only been doing it officially a couple of months, but that is sort of the structure of how it is at the moment. So yeah, best of luck to everybody, and we'll see you in the next vlog.